The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.
Is the Morning Sports Desk on a Monday, the 28th of September. CJ Baumgartner with Corey Tackman. Corey, high school sports continue to heat up. Friday, we had a couple of volleyball games on our Hubbard Radio-Wadena stations. Let's start off with your game. You had Sabika, Walker, Hackensack, Akeley. How'd that one go?
So I would have sworn, under everything I've ever seen in my entire life in high school volleyball, that the match I was going to see was going to go 5 sets. It was Sabika beat Walker Hackensack Akeley in the first set, 25-23.
Okay.
Trojans jumped out to a lead early, even into the middle stages of that first set. Walker Hackensack Akeley then went on a nice big run to come all the way back and even take the lead to the early stages of the last part of the set. And then Sabika made their comeback and took the first set, 25-23. It was undeniably electric in that gym in Sabika. It was loud. It was raucous. They were playing very good volleyball on top of it. It was exactly what you wanted out of a section volleyball match. And then things just turned straight sideways for the Wolves from that point forward. Never in my wildest imaginations would I have been able to assume or guess that the match would have gone this way. It ended up being 25-4 and 25-8. Sets 2 and 3 in favor of the Sabika Trojans to win it in straight sets. I've never seen anything like it, CJ. I've never seen such an electric, competitive first set turn into what ended up being a not competitive match, even at all. And I don't know, what happens. Sometimes volleyball gets weird. We've all seen it where like you lose a little momentum, and then the only thing that can stop that momentum is for the set to just be over. And it just felt like, in hindsight, losing that first set for Walker Hackensack Akeley was enough for it to just kind of squash any other extra energy that maybe was had. Sabika played really well in that second and third set. Obviously, on top of it, you don't get a 4 and an 8 as a final score without things going not your way for one team and things going very your way for the other team. But the Trojans come away in 3 sets. They play Browerville Eagle Valley tomorrow night at Crosby Ironton. That's going to be game 1 of 2 at the home of the Rangers. Browerville Eagle Valley, by the way, victorious over Bertha Hewitt the other night in 4 sets. Tigers winning the first, the Bears the second, and then just an awesomely competitive match between the Tigers and the Bears. Just listen to these scores. Tigers 25-22, Bears 25-15, Tigers 25-23, Tigers 26-24. So back and forth like crazy in that one. But in that subsection championship now, CJ, it's the top 2 seeds. 1 seed Sabika, 2 seed Browerville Eagle Valley. Again, that'll be in the Superstation tomorrow night with a 6 o'clock start time.
And by the way, it should be noted there was a little bit of history in that Bertha Hewitt Browerville game because Georgia Washala hit a milestone, I believe it was 2,000 set assists.
Correct.
For her career. So congratulations to her. At least, you don't, it's bittersweet because it happens in your final game playing high school volleyball, but a cool milestone to get nonetheless for them. On Friday night, I had a match between Wadena Deer Creek and Thief River Falls. And Corey, we came into this one. If you go back to Friday's episode, I said, I feel like this game's either going to go 3 or it's going 5. There's no, it's either going to be Wadena Deer Creek is just going to take care of business.
Yep.
And finish things off. Or Thief River Falls is going to be very competitive and it's going to be a great match and it's going to go 5 and whatever. It's tough because there's not a ton of opponents on the schedule to really gauge which team is which. The Wolverines were the high seed and meant to get to be in Wadena Deer Creek. I think travel in high school sports is always important because they had to get on a bus and drive multiple hours to get ready to play this game.
Right.
And Wadena Deer Creek just showed up to school and got ready to play. There's something to be said about that. Wadena Deer Creek took care of business. They played an excellent volleyball game. And I thought in the first couple sets, Corey, Jada Dykhoff played especially well, probably her best performance of the season, or one of them. Like, all of her attacks in that first set just landed. Sometimes, she's got the velocity. She's able to hit the ball hard no matter what. But just every once in a while, it's just the angle. Sometimes it'd float a little bit and go over. Sometimes it would just, you're a little on top of it and go into the net. But every attack she had would land, and with the velocity, it was going to find the floor. And then you counter that with Peyton Gravel, who had 20 kills in that game as well. They took care of business. They played well. They won in 3 sets and really never felt close. I mean, the set scores might indicate stuff, but Wadena Deer Creek was in control all night long, and they advance, and now they get to try and take on a little bit of revenge with the Holly Nuggets tomorrow night from Moorhead High School. A 7:45 first serve. They're going to play the other game on the other side of the bracket first, but Wadena Deer Creek going to play Holly. The one section loss Wadena Deer Creek has had since rejoining Section 8AA. So this year and last, including playoffs, the one team in section to beat them was Holly. They did it in 4 sets back in late September. Wolverines are a much different team since then. I think it'll be a good game. It'll be a really great game. We'll have it on KWAD tomorrow. You can check out WadenaRadio.com for the full broadcast schedule this week. Corey, there was some section football on Saturday. I'll make things quick for you. You want to recap the Staples Motley Monaga game? Staples Motley won big. Yeah. Pretty much that's the end of it. That's a great team. As kind of to be expected. The programs are in 2 different places. Well, and this is a game, right? The section's in a weird spot, right? There's only 5 teams in the section. One of the teams forfeited out of the section. Had that team not forfeited out of the section, they would have been the 4 seed. Like the team that forfeited out of the section was a higher seed than Monaga if the playoffs would have continued the way they were. So Monaga's just it's no disrespect, it's just a down year for them. And if this were a full 8-team section, they would have been an 8 seed. So, and that's just the reality of I'm not discrediting those kids and how hard they work, because they're definitely putting in the effort. We know what the coaches are doing there. We know how those kids are. That is not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying it was a tough year for them, and it's been the opposite of a tough year for the Staples Motley Cardinals, who come out big time victorious in their game. I don't know what the final score was off the top of my head. Do you have it in front of you? It was 50-0 at halftime. I think it ended up being like 56-12 or something along those lines. That seems right to me. Yeah. So the Staples Motley Cardinals move on to a section championship at the Fargodome on, is it Friday they're playing those games? Friday. Yeah. Friday at the Dome. Friday at the Dome. The Dome. And you can listen on the fan. The fan. See, it's a little like 1920s gangster, isn't it? Just a little. No, like a no why I oughta or it's definitely like a hipster, like a cool guy, not a hipster, like a cool guy, right? He's like a 90s cool guy. He's balding here on but his hair is still spiked. Yeah. Man. Yeah. Pillager and Osakis played a great game on Saturday afternoon. Yeah. Pillager was up 8-0, I believe, at halftime. Osakis takes the lead, or they were up 7-0 at halftime. Excuse me. Osakis took the lead 16-50. Or excuse me. Let me go back, because I got this recap from Dan Terhar, who called the game over on our sister stations in Alexandria, and he said Pillager was up. They were up 15-8. And they were attempting to kick like a 25-ish yard field goal, not super far. And they've had a good kicking game all year, has Pillager. And he said if they would have kicked that 2-score game, ball game over, there's like 2.5 minutes to play. They try and kick the field goal it was like a 4th and 5. And they kicked the field goal, and it was blocked by Osakis. And they run it all the way down inside the Husky 10-yard line, and they punch the ball in with under 2 minutes to go. And Pillager just couldn't get the matching score. Osakis got the 2-point conversion. 16-15 was your final. The Silver Streaks are going back to the section title game to defend their title. A rematch against the Cardinals. This time the Cardinals are the 1 seed, and the Osakis Silver Streaks are the 3. I mean, just you feel for Pillager. They've had such a good year, and just the way that section is set up, Corey, they don't even get to say we want a playoff game. I hate that for those kids.
Just an unbelievable year, to not have the reward of saying that they were able to get a game like that. Couple of unbelievable games for Osakis and Pillager this year, right? Wasn't it 18-16 in week 1 in favor of Pillager?
Pillager won in Osakis. Osakis won in Pillager. Yeah.
So their net total difference was 1. They played 2 games together, and the net total difference was 1.
1 point.
Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So it's going to be a good one. On Saturday, Corey, I had Pillager, that's on the brain. Parker's Prairie and Breckenridge from Breckenridge High School at Cowboy Field. And the wind was whipping, Corey, and we were getting ready to go for a high school football game. And Parker's Prairie, I was talked to head coach Mike Johnson. And I said, they beat you guys. They handed you your first loss. The reason you're playing this game in Breckenridge is because they beat you in Breckenridge a month ago. Do you use that as motivation to motivate your guys? And he said, no, because we didn't have to, because as soon as that game ended, our guys wanted another chance at them, and they were chomping at the bit. They were so mad.
They were chomping at the bit to prove that they were the better football team. And I talked with a couple assistant coaches with Parker's Prairie as well. And they said, we felt like we played our worst game of the season that night in Breckenridge, and we've came out all week to make sure that we are ready to go. We think we're faster. We think we can get to the sidelines. And outside of 2 big plays by Breckenridge, there was like a 4th and 1 in the second half where Breckenridge popped a long touchdown. Or it was late in the first half where Breckenridge just pops a long touchdown on like a 4th and 1 where the running back gets there, sees everything is clogged up, and just goes around the line and just runs 80 yards for a touchdown. And then outside of like a pass play by the running back on a little trick play that went for an 80-yard touchdown, Breckenridge was kept off the scoreboard. Parker's Prairie played a great football game. They, for all intents and purposes, they came out, punched Breckenridge in the mouth, and just kind of didn't let up. We talk about Mason Basil and the big achievements he had for Parker's Prairie, becoming the all-time leading rusher. He had 22 touchdowns coming into that game, make it 23 with a 38-yard run on the opening drive to get things going. Again, talking with Coach Johnson pregame, Corey, he said, there were some records that we thought Travis Yonke was going to hang on to for a long time. Just a couple years. It didn't take very long for those records to be broken, and that's quite an achievement for them and for that program. And Basil finished with 109 rushing yards and a touchdown, but it was the passing game for Parker's Prairie that really took a step up. Chavis went 5 of 5 for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nolan Steidel, 3 catches for 61 yards. Ben Wagner, 1 catch for 28. And there was I think the turning point in the game was when Parker's Prairie was up, and they were up, I believe it was 14-0. About a minute or 2 minutes to go before halftime, like getting close to the end of the half. And if you're Breckenridge, their thought was like, okay, well, at least they were getting ready. They got a turnover on downs. And it was like, okay, if we can not even get into the end zone, but if we can at the very least just hold it at this score until halftime and get out of Dodge here, we're going to be okay. And they got a turnover on downs. They got what they need to do. Then in the very next play, Mason Basil gets an interception, takes it to the Cowboy 41-yard line. And on the very next play, Coach Johnson calls up the long pass play, and they have a 41-yard touchdown just right up the seam, dropping in the bucket for Chavis Wendt. Great pass to get them up. And that was kind of the point where you're like, they're winning this game. Parker's Prairie's coming away with the victory here.
Awesome.
It was a great game and a great one for them, cathartic for them, because they said, this is every town needs rivalry. Every town needs everything. After they lost that game, you hear people talking about, oh, maybe Breckenridge is the team in that section. Maybe Breckenridge is the team that can go to state. Is Parker's Prairie for real? And then they come out and they assert their dominance. And that was a good win for that community and a good win for that town, good win for that team. They're going to play West Central area, the 1 seed in that section. They took care of New York Mills 28-12. believe was that final score from Barrett. So the Eagles are done. They had a great season, but now it's the Knights and the Panthers. Parker's Prairie trying to go back to state after winning the section a year ago. Before that, 2003 was the last time they made the state tournament. So trying to avoid a 20-year gap in state tournament appearances, they have a real great chance to make sure that they can get back to the state tournament. Friday, 12:30 kickoff from the Fargodome. It's going to be a good one.
Can't wait. This is the best games of the year. Now, section championship football, section championship volleyball. Later in the week, they are pick the section championship. They are the best events in the state, bar none, every single year. Better than state tournament games.
Go Panther. Go Cardinal.
Let's do that thing.
Let's do that thing. As they say in section final football, let's do that section final football.
You want to know what my 6-year-old said to me yesterday? I don't know what he was talking about, but he goes, "Oh, he nice with it."
What was
I don't remember. He just kind of like
watching football or something? No.
It was just like an out loud thing. I don't know. I was doing my thing. He was doing his thing. I don't know what it was in reference to, but as soon as you started saying, "Let's go Card, let's go Panther," it reminded me of that. He nice with it.
The show New Girl had a clip from the show where a couple of the guys were talking, and they were like trying to talk about a guy's pickup game, like trying to hit on a girl that he had a crush on or something like that. And he just leans over and he just says, "Hey, yo, shorty, what that thing do?" And everybody just looks at him like, why would you say? And the person just looks at him and goes, just kind of walks away. That's
I have seen 0 seconds of that show in the element of the show.
Like you've just never sat down and watched an episode.
Correct. I have seen most of the best parts of that show on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I give you cookie, you give me cookie, I give you cookie.
You give me cookie. Yeah, it's a great show. It's great. Also, when I have a lot of little cousins, or back when a few years ago they were littler, and the thing that was always going around on the internet was always like, there's this Vine. Remember that? Vine, where there's like a kid doing a skateboard trick at a skate park, and then the camera just pans to like this little kid who's like 8 years old. He's got the crooked teeth. He's pudgy, like every 8-year-old kid. And he just looks at the camera and goes, "That was legitness." And somebody in the background goes, "Yeah, it was." Mm-hmm. And so they go, "That was legitness."
Yes.
So that your story made me think of that.
I can't wait. It's going to be a fun weekend or week again of high school sports.
Yeah, we're putting off talking about non-local sports because our state sports are getting pretty grim. So remember, go check out Sports Cow on Facebook for all the local sports coverage, because that's fun. What's not fun?
All of our game results, by the way, a share of Georgia getting her 2000th assist, all that stuff is up there. If it's happening in Central Minnesota sports, we are doing our best to make sure it gets its recognition on the Sports Cow.
Moo.
All
right, Christian Darrisaw tore his ACL. He's out for the year. Corey, this is underratedly just a devastating loss for the Vikings.
It's not underrated. It is exactly as rated as you think it is. This stinks. This is a season-changing injury for the Vikings.
This is not hyperbole. Well, okay, maybe it is, because Justin Jefferson exists. Christian Darrisaw is a top 3 player on this Vikings team.
He is. I mean, is Trent Williams the best left tackle?
Yeah, I would still say he is. He's like the gold standard, but Darrisaw is like right behind him in terms of tiers.
Darrisaw is like top 5 at his position. Yeah. The difference is he might be number 5 at his position. Jefferson is top 5 at his position. He's probably number 1. But it's this big of a difference. He is so good and so important.
Yeah, it's brutal. And you saw it in that second half. I mean, the Vikings the run game wasn't the same. Pass protection wasn't and granted, you're throwing a guy in on the fly. It'll be interesting to see what the Vikings do. Dan Quessenberry is kind of the emergency swing tackle, but Blake Brandel, the Vikings left guard, was originally a tackle. Do you kick him back out to tackle? Dalton Reisner, I know he was all preseason working at right guard, but do you kick him back to his more natural position of left guard and you just kind of roll the dice with Ed Ingram? Or is Dan Quessenberry that much of a is he that much of a liability? Or maybe it's not even that. It's just, you just need a good left tackle. You just need a good left tackle in sports. Because Vikings fans, remember for years before Darrisaw, left tackle stunk for them for a long time.
And if you're a guy like we've talked about, we don't need to rehash a million points, but if you're a guy like Darnold who is hanging on to the football at a higher rate than most of the NFL, the disclaimer on this is he's been able to because he has guys like Christian Darrisaw blocking for him. But if you're a guy who wants to hang on to the football and now all of a sudden Darrisaw isn't there, hanging on to the football becomes scary.
Yeah, that becomes the issue here. And it's basically, there's a calculus that goes into that. It's, is it better to bench Ingram and put Reisner in at the guard and you taking away your worst offensive lineman, theoretically, but also is it, he may be bad, but also like it's important to make sure that we put the best left tackle out there that we think, and Blake Brandel is a better left tackle, and it's more important that we get the tackle position taken care of and his blind side covered than it is that way. That's a calculus the Vikings have to figure out. I don't know what the right answer is.
I do. I know what the right answer is. I'll take this one, CJ. Ed Ingram's one of the worst guards in football.
He's really bad.
You get him out.
Yeah.
If Ed Ingram was Randall McDaniel, then you make sure you shore up your tackle position. If he was a Hall of Fame guard playing alongside a Hall of Fame guard, and he's your worst guard, then you don't worry about it. But he's not only the worst offensive lineman on this team, he's one of the worst starting offensive linemen in the entire NFL. You have to get that better. What's the stupid cliche? Rising tide raises all ships or something like that. Yeah. You have to get better there so that way you can be more versatile everywhere, and then Brandel can come out and play, and then Quessenberry, the Quessenberries taste like Quessenberries. He can fulfill his duty. He can play where he's best suited, which is spot starting, spot filling in wherever it is he needs to.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Hall of Fame. I think even if Ingram was league average, he probably stays, but he's not.
He's not.
He's not. And the only reason he's still playing is because he was a second round draft pick. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here.
And because Reisner was hurt. Because he didn't play last year once Reisner came in.
And the Vikings too, by the way, he played all preseason, even when most of the starters sat, which is a way of the coaching staff poking him and being like, you need to get some stuff figured out here, buddy.
Yeah, no, he's only playing because Reisner was not ready to go. So as soon as he's ready, and by the way, Reisner was my favorite revelation on the Vikings a year ago, watching him just kill people 25 yards downfield all the time. If there was a lineman blocking downfield, it was him every single time.
And the other thing is Reisner is a much better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. And the Vikings like to throw the football. And Ingram stinks in pass coverage. Correct. So that'll help out a lot. It's just a death blow to this team because Green Bay won again. Somehow they just find ways to win games. It's so annoying.
Jacksonville. More importantly, Jacksonville found a way to lose.
Yeah. Turns out they
dank.
If there was when I'm in a finding a way to lose competition, my opponent is the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm scared.
You are gonna lose the losing game against Jacksonville. Lawrence made a great throw. Did you see the go-ahead score for Jacksonville?
A great throw.
Unbelievable throw and catch. Unbelievable. And then Jacksonville does Jacksonville things.
So annoying. So annoying. At least the Bears lost. That was fun.
Oh my gosh. What a throw. I mean, I know you did because we were all sharing memes and GIFs and videos and whatever.
We're all trying to pick on our Bears fan boss. Yeah.
If you are a Bears fan, I think as a whole, you just don't like Eberflus anymore, right?
No, I think the fan base is already a little like, okay.
Irrational about that corner, aren't you? Aren't you immediately the most mad you've been in a long, long time about one single individual player?
Remember when Marcus Williams missed that tackle for the Saints in the Minneapolis Miracle play and took out his own guy, and people got mad at him, but at least you're like, hey man, he made a play. He just wrong place, wrong time. Like, at least he was trying to make a play. That corner for the Bears, and I'm not even going to dignify that guy's name with a response, is like he was jawing at fans in the end zone, from the end zone, jawing at him, waving his arms up in the air, kind of realized.
Not even looking when the ball is snapped.
No, he didn't even realize the play was happening. He's like, oh, shoot, the play's happening. Loses his man in coverage because of that. Gets to the play late. And honestly, Corey, the play would have been better if he just would have been jawing with fans the entire time, because he's the one that tips the ball up in the air that allows the corner or the wide receiver from Washington to catch the ball in the end zone. And that was his guy. That was his guy.
I thought there was only one thing you were supposed to do. Or not, there was only one thing you weren't supposed to do in that situation. And that one thing being tip the ball in the air. That's what you're not supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is hit it down, like spike it like it's a free ball at the net in volleyball, right?
Right.
The only thing is, instead, he discovered like 2 or 3 different things you were also not supposed to do in that moment. Somehow by the way, he's starting on the goal line.
Right.
The guy he was covering still somehow ended behind him
because he went for the ball.
That's a cardinal sin of defensive backs.
Yeah, he broke so many rules. It was
so many rules.
So bad.
Couldn't happen to a better team.
Couldn't have. I mean, man.
Couldn't be more happy for that team and that franchise and
also,
their fans.
For Washington, it literally couldn't happen to a more deserving franchise. They finally got that sociopath owner out of there. And immediately they have a GM and a head coach that are stable. They all of a sudden have a franchise quarterback, and that franchise, it just has so much life in it. Washington historically was a great football franchise with a great fan base. Snyder pretty much tanked it and created apathy. And
yes.
All of a sudden, wink, wink, Twins fans, a new owner comes in, and they don't even have to be great. They just have to not be the last guy. And all of a sudden, enthusiasm just through the roof.
No, it's really awesome. It's really awesome for them. And then, and Daniels, by the way, got hurt last week. I was riding the Daniels high. I'm like, good, I'm going to start. He was on my bench. I'm going to start him in my fantasy football team. He gets hurt 14 seconds into the next game. And then I was like, okay, that's fine, because my quarterbacks are Lamar and Jaden. I'll just switch it back to Lamar. Not a big deal. Jaden, last minute, hey, I'm playing, and then pulls off this miracle. Can't win for losing.
Not bitter or anything.
Except I am going to win. Except that. 4-3. How's your fantasy? Are your fantasy football team sucky or okay?
Yeah, they're sucky. They're always sucky. I stink at fantasy football. It is not
about it, or are you playing out of obligation for friends and family or whoever?
I'm pretty much playing out of I play out of obligation, and like I like going to the fantasy football drafts because I like seeing friends and I like kind of hanging out, and there's always like a little party. But like,
the drafts are bomb. By the way, you have a kid now. They're over for you.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like everyone else in your friend group. They're gonna start having kids. You're gonna just start doing online drafts, and those are.
It already kind of was with this one league we're in, which there's like pretty much every guy in this league except for like 2 have kids now. So like we literally had to do a fantasy draft where like the wives and kids were like in like the side room there. Like we were all in the same house. That was pretty much how it ended up having to go.
That would be unbelievable. That's way better than what I'm talking about. Because what I'm talking about is forgetting that your draft is that day, and then you being one of 6 people in your 10-team league that can't make it, and it just is an auto draft for the day. Like, all right, well, this is lame.
Well, in the league I'm in,
drafts are easily the best part of fantasy football.
They're the best. There's one draft I'm in, and I love it. I try and go when I can. It's with some high school buddies, and we just meet up and have a good time, and it's great because it's no computers at all. We literally have the big board with the poster and the stickers, and you like, boom, put your guy's name up on the board. It's awesome. But if I can't make it, there's just nobody that can, like, it's not an auto draft. So somebody's either got to pick for you or you got to like phone in, and it's like, you just can't.
It's
hard to pull off. Fantasy football is hard to pull off as an adult. This is weird. And we all went to high school together. So it was really easy to do a draft because we'd all just like after football practice one day, we'd just go do it.
Yeah, you have like real life responsibilities. And the whole time you're thinking, I'm trying to kill myself over something that has fantasy in the title. What am I doing?
What's going on here?
Only in it anymore. I'm in one league. Fine. I got it down from I was in the most I'd ever been in was 3, because I felt obligated here at work.
Right.
And then I'd been in 2 for a long time. I got it down to 1. I'm in 1 now. And the only reason I'm in the 1 is because, hey man, it's just all of us. Would you just we don't spend any money to get in it. There's nothing. I don't know why we're doing it. They just needed a 10th. I was like, okay.
Yeah, fine.
I guess. If I don't have to do anything, then that's fine.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the show with this, Corey. According to NCAA buzzer beaters and game winners, it's a X account. They have found and compiled a list of what they call the first team all-name team for college basketball.
Okay.
First name on here.
Yes.
Always Right.
I like it.
From Rhode Island. Right is spelled W-R-I-G-H-T.
Yes. Okay, good. I like Always Right.
Okay, how about
if your name is Right though, and you're playing at Rhode Island?
That's pretty wrong.
No offense to Rhode Island, because it's still a higher level of basketball than I ever played, but that's a tough look to be named Always Right.
How about for Oregon, Supreme Cook?
I love it. Yeah.
Welcome to my fine Big Ten institution, Oregon.
I love it.
Supreme Cook, mascot's the Ducks. You can find some to work with there.
Pizza.
Caillou.
Cook. Let him cook.
Let him. Oh, the shirts are already being printed, Corey.
Yes.
Shirts are already being printed. A Center for Liberty. His name is Caillou. Like the PBS show back in the day, Caillou, I think. That's
okay.
That's
I have
no idea.
So that's awesome. Great pull on that one.
Yeah. Tennessee Rainwater. Where do you place?
Tennessee Rainwater is a wonderful name.
Plays at Utah Tech.
Is Tennessee Rainwater, I would assume, is he native?
Hard to tell from that picture. Hard to tell.
Yeah, we're not here to judge people on their looks and looks alone, but it is. I agree with you. It is hard to tell. The name would indicate as such.
The name would indicate. The skin color doesn't sound about white. That's, this is where we're going to leave that one.
No, I mean, I'm not trying to be weird about it. I'm just wondering, is that because
you think
the Tennessee part, I mean, the Tennessee is very white.
Well, Rainwater is pretty straightforward.
It's also, he's playing at Utah
Tech.
Also very, like naming your kid Tennessee hits a lot of Mormon checkpoints too, doesn't it?
Right. And look, I mean, college basketball is a national sport now. Like people come from across the country, but still.
Great. Cool. I love it. That is so far, that's my favorite. Just like if you had to put it on a card outside your office or on your desk, you know what I mean? Like for it to say Tennessee Rainwater, that sounds like a song Lainey Wilson sings. I just like, it's got vibe. There's a vibe to Tennessee Rainwater.
Tennessee Rainwater sounds like the name of a late 70s, early 80s country musician.
It's Marvin Rainwater, isn't it, Marvin?
Yeah, probably.
Tennessee Rainwater sounds like a song that Gordon Lightfoot would sing.
That's true. I mean, the Gales in November, they do come early. Anyway.
Okay, great.
What?
Great. Love it.
Okay, we got 2 more. Po Boy King. That's how else would you pronounce that? P-O''Boigh.
It's definitely Po Boy.
Po Boy King. Guard out of NC Central.
So this is obviously awesome for a couple of reasons. One is the oxymoronic nature of being a po' boy and a king.
Uh-huh.
So I like the title. It's a little like, hey, I'm the you might have whatever you have. That's great, but we don't have anything. I'm the king. I'm the po' boy king. So I like that part of it. I also just love that maybe he just loves the sandwich.
I mean, maybe you could say he's the king of that sandwich.
He's the king of he's the king of po' boys. He's the po' boy king.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about the time I worked at a Fastenal? And did I tell you about Andre? what Andre taught me? Have I ever told you this story?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
So I was responsible for making sure the warehouse was clean. That was like my on that side of the custodial staff. He was responsible, Andre was, for the offices and the like, you know, the customer service side of the building. And he told me one time, or he asked me one time, he goes, you know the difference between being poor with an R, poor, and po? I go, no, Andre, I don't know what the difference is. And he goes, poor is when you have no money, but the government, your friends, your family, they do what they can to help you out. And po is when you ain't got shit.
Fair.
Yep. Thanks, Andre.
Fair. Let's round out our lineup here with the first team all-name team with my favorite, Gob Gob.
Gob Gob.
Gob Gob Job Job.
You want to know something about Gob Gob?
What?
He's from Minnesota.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I think he's Minnesota Prep, but I think Austin before that.
Now I'm looking this up.
He's from Minnesota. I remember that name.
Remember that distinctly. He played at Minnesota Prep. That's all it says.
Sure.
He was in the 2022 class.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that name.
How could the Gophers not get him to stay in state? Instead, he goes to Kansas City. The Kangaroos, or whatever the heck they're called.
Is that what they are?
They're like their mascot's like a kangaroo.
Are they who's the Billikens?
Kansas City University.
This is the Billikens, aren't they?
Kansas City is the Roos.
They are the Roos. I love it.
They were formerly known as the UMKC Kangaroos.
Sure.
Now they just decided to go by the Roos, which they had the kangaroo was inspired in 1936 when the Kansas City Zoo's pregnant kangaroo Jigger, and the fact that kangaroo rhymed with the university's colloquial term KCU.
Oh, that's all. Okay. You know what? I'm actually all in on that. KCU, kangaroo, KCU. I love Gob Gob. Awesome name. It's an awesome name. I love when the first and last name are the same, like Bol Bol.
Mm-hmm.
How could you not like that?
How could you not? How could you not? I mean,
and it sounds cool, by the way. Like it would not sound cool if you were CJ.
No.
That I don't like it.
Like it's got to be like one syllable, you know?
Yeah, Corey. No. Zeke. Actually, no, yeah, Zeke would be cool.
Zeke would work.
Zeke would. I think you're right. It has to be one syllable.
Because it's got to roll.
Kyle, although Kyle, that one's tough. It's one syllable, but it's a little.
It's like 1.5.
It's like a diphthong in there, right? There's no diphthong in Gob Gob.
No. How about diphthong?
Diphthong. Too long.
Diphthong, too long.
Thanksgiving, the best holiday ever. Right? It's got to be. Gobble. Yeah. You gobble for the Thanksgiving week.
All right. Well, the moment that is broken down is probably the moment we need to wrap things up for the day. We have the second all-name team that we'll go over later.
No, let's just do them real quick. Come on.
I got a phone already.
Come on.
No, we got to wrap it up.
All right. I like it. This is good podcast radio tease.
Tune
in tomorrow for.
It's a tease and it's an on-air production meeting.
Yeah, right.
This has been the Morning Sports Desk for Monday, the 28th of October.
The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.